The major activities of any major change, led well, usually fall into categories similar to these you see here. It all starts with defining the change purpose and vision that is aligned to strategies and priorities of the organization. Sponsorship is an important senior leadership role to any change. A sponsor is usually the main voice or face of the change and main leader of the change. Sponsors serve as the consistent champion of the change through interacting with senior leaders and directly with employees to influence the change buy in and adoption. This role also includes decision making, aligning and providing resources, and interaction with and guidance to the change management team. You will serve as the sponsor for your change vision. The change management team should include a project manager and dedicated resources to execute change management actions, communications, and analysis. It should be a powerful group with leadership skills, authority, bias for action, credibility, communication skills, and analytical abilities. The change communication plan and project plan should define specific audiences affected by the change, their needs, and the plan for managing resistance. The communication should create awareness around the what and why of the change and speak to concerns, along with creating a desire to want to change. Preparing and training managers is a critical component of change management. It's best practice when implementing any change to reinforce the message that the manager's role to lead the change on their team and manage resistance is crucial. Provide managers support materials and tools to communicate and train their team, and make sure to involve managers early and get their input and buy-in before asking them to lead their teams through the change. What naturally follows is a manager-led change management activities that they can conduct with their team using tools and communications provided to them. An important change management step and strategy is to engage and recognize early adopters, enable them to influence their peers and be a champion through providing them with information, tools, and training. Then leverage them to spread messages, calm fears, get buy-in from team members, and train others. Next, training and communication should be provided for all team members, cascading down and across the organization. Finally, a vital aspect of making change last is reinforcement. This involves monitoring adoption, addressing resistance hotspots, and celebrating and communicating early wins and progress along the way. As a transitioning executive, creating a shared vision is a task that you will take on. The first step of a successful change management is creating a shared vision. For your case, the shared vision is about the future of the organization or the division or unit that you are now leading and where you'll be leading it. New executives frequently arrive in a new position and declare, "Here's my vision, let's go forward." They neglect to create input and buy-in from others. Even with the best spirit of cooperation, if the executive's vision is not shared, then the team will not succeed. Your new team will appreciate a chance to be heard and provide input to the vision. And because they're experienced with company context and culture, they'll likely have valuable input too. I recommend seeking input from everyone who you'll need to align to successfully enact an agenda. This might mean meeting with 15 people. It might mean meeting with 100. Once you've done this, look for ways to incorporate their good ideas and even their language into your strategies. Begin with senior leader and key stakeholder buy-in and feedback. Then work your way down management levels to the front line. Although gathering input may sound time-consuming, the reality is that taking the time to do it actually leads to quicker results than you'd achieve by acting first. An agenda can be accomplished much more quickly by a fully committed team than by a new executive pushing against the crowd. Once you've gathered all the input, finalize your future state vision and create a one-year plan. see the vision creation and communication tools that I provide to assist in this process. Then develop your communication strategy of the vision and plan. Then communicate and cascade down the organization to the front line. No one will do anything different until they first believe they must change, second, can picture themselves in a brighter future, and third, see how they can be part of the solution. External reasons why people must change often work better than internal ones. This leads to a message of building on all the good things that the team has already done to stay ahead of the coming changes in the world in order to achieve even greater heights. An excellent change vision is inspiring and has a sense of purpose. Take care to use simple, heartfelt language that touches emotions. Then extensively communicate the key elements of the change vision and strategy, as well as the urgency. Convince the masses that they cannot be successful by maintaining status quo, and that change is required to meet changing needs and conditions. If the sense of urgency is not sufficiently high at the beginning of any organizational change project, complacency can win out. Obtain information about how people are feeling about the change and speak directly to the anxieties and fears. The more you learn about people's concerns, the more you can proactively address them. Speak to what could be in it for them and those that they serve by describing how the change will benefit them as individuals and those they care about. Finally, it must be said that as sponsor, you must model the change in your actions and behaviors. If people see a discrepancy in what you are asking or communicating what you're doing, buy-in will not be obtained. Here's a suggested timeline for creating and communicating the change vision. Of course, adapt these timelines to your organization's need. At pre-start in your first week in 30 days, that's the stage where you'll be gathering input from stakeholders and researching to inform your vision ideas. You'll begin to vet initial ideas with the board or whoever manages you, your peers, and your direct reports, asking for feedback. At 60 days, it's a rough guideline for when you might conduct a vision session with your direct reports to create a first draft of the vision, using the vision creation and communication tool that I'll provide. As it's crafted, again, you'll want to share with your manager and board for feedback. At 90 days, get feedback and make modifications by sharing your draft vision with levels below your direct reports and any influential frontline team members or leaders. At 6 months is really when you might be closing in on finalizing and communicating your vision to the entire organization. As you plan communications around your change vision to the entire organization, this simple tool can help you plan them and make sure that they're tailored and specific to groups, addressing their specific concerns. For each stakeholder group, think about the type of communication, when the communication will occur, potential resistance or concerns, your influence strategy around those, and key messages. There are many factors that affect whether a change will be received and implemented well by an organization. These factors are related to an organization's readiness for change. As you consider your organization's readiness for your vision, consider these 5 things and adjust your plan and timeline accordingly. Culture and value systems play a major role in how an organization reacts to change. Give thought to this, and it will enable you to predict certain reactions from the group and plan accordingly. Organizations have limited capacity for change. If your organization is already experiencing large amounts of change, implementing yet another can be more difficult. Past changes may have left residual effects that can work in your favor or make change management more challenging. Your organization's history is part of your starting point when managing change. In many organizations, middle and frontline managers have a high degree of influence over their peers' employees. They play a significant role in change success because it's their job to lead and implement the change on their teams. Keep a close pulse on middle and frontline management buy-in and resistance. Your efforts to influence this level will pay off. The last factor to consider is employee readiness, which is the gauge of how prepared and able employees are for change. Whether you can expect high or low employee resistance and the reasons behind the resistance. As you think about the capacity for your change that your organization has, consider the following two visuals. The first is the impact of one change. The yellow region indicates some productivity loss, employee dissatisfaction, and passive resistance. The red region indicates turnover, customer impact, active resistance, and opt out for change. You can see the white line of the impact of one change. And when you have multiple changes happening at once, it can cause some changes to fail and can increase turnover, can have negative customer impacts, and create undermining and active resistance. That's why it's important to plan strategically as you implement any change. It's an important reminder that change impacts our emotions similarly to the stages of grieving. It often starts with denial, with a lot of chaos in the middle, and finally moving to acceptance and enthusiasm. It's important to note that those who learn about the change and have had input will be further along in this process and closer to acceptance than people who are just hearing about change for the first time. As a final concept related to change management, let's talk about what people need in order to successfully adopt change. This model is called ADKAR, and if these aren't addressed, resistance will occur. At the awareness stage, people need to know, what is the nature of the change? Why is the change needed? And what's the risk of not changing? For desire, people need to know, what's in it for me? Do they have personal motivation? And do they want to engage and participate? For knowledge, people need to understand how to change. They need to have the education and training on new processes and tools. And they also need and want education and training for the skills and behaviors necessary to move forward. For ability, people are asking themselves, do I have the ability to implement the change? Are they aware of when you have achieved the desired change in performance or behavior? And has there been enough time to develop new abilities and behaviors with proficiency? Finally, for reinforcement, what actions will decrease the likelihood of reverting to old behaviors? Are there incentives or consequences for not continuing to act in the new way? And what actions will increase the likelihood of sticking with the change? Each element of this ADKAR model should be addressed through a variety of approaches, including manager and peer coaching, sponsorship, communications, and training around the change. Just like what we covered in the emotions graphic, each person and team will move through these stages of change at different paces. This is why repeated communications, training, and coaching is needed throughout a change plan.